Did you guys see this article from The Hill titled, "Most Young Men Are Single, Most Young Women Are Not"? Let's get into this article. More than 60% of young men are single, nearly twice the rate of unattached young women, signaling a larger breakdown in the social, romantic, and sexual life of the American male. Men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Like I've been saying, the mom to wife pipeline is drying up. "We're in a crisis of connection," said Neil B. Way, a psychology professor and founder of the Project for Advancement of Our Common Humanity. "Disconnection from ourselves and disconnection from each other, and it's getting worse. In the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men unalive themselves at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger men are largely responsible for the rise of mass shootings, a trend some researchers link to their growing social isolation." And for the past 2 days, I have been talking about the fact that men do not have that many friends. And so this is something that we really need to focus on instead of always talking about women and what our issues are. This is going to get dangerous for many of us. Societal changes that began in the Eisenhower years have eroded the patriarchy that once ruled the American home, classroom, and workplace. Women now collect 60% bachelor degrees. Men still earn more, but among the youngest adults, the income gap has narrowed to just $43 a week. Scholars say the new era of gender parity has reshaped relationship dynamics, empowering young women and, in many cases, removing young men from the equation. So now that patriarchy is lessening its oppression, men actually have to be social and emotionally intelligent and not oppressive. Other than that, they will continue to decline. Okay, women don't need to be in long-term relationships. They don't need to be married. They'd rather go to brunch with friends than have a horrible date. As of 2022, 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single, 34% of women, and a whopping 63% of men. Surprisingly, sex is also declining as well. There'll be a part. Okay, so I ended the last video talking about the fact that sex is down because relationships are down. So the share of sexually active Americans stands at a 30-year low. Around 30% of young men reported in 2019 that they had had no sex in the past year, compared to about 20% of young women. Only half of single men are actively seeking relationships or even casual dates. You have to think that the pandemic had an impact on some of those numbers. Young men are watching a lot of social media. They're watching a lot of porn, and I think they're getting a lot of their needs met without having to go out. And I think it's starting to be a habit. Even seasoned researchers struggle to fully account for the relationship gap between young men and women. If single men outnumber single women nearly 2 to 1, who are all the young women dating? Could they be dating other women? Let's see. Some of them are dating each other. One-fifth of Gen Z identifies as queer, and research suggests bisexual women make up a large share of the young adult queer community. Young women are also dating and marrying slightly older men, carrying on tradition that stretches back more than a century. The average age at first marriage is around 30 for men, 28 for women. Heterosexual women are getting more choosy. Women don't want to marry down. Men better get that education game up. In previous generations, young women entered adulthood in a society that expected them to find a financially stable man who would support them through decades of marriage and motherhood. Over the 50s and 60s, that pattern gradually broke down. So it wasn't women that created this system. We had an expectation to just fall in line. Okay, But women are tiring of their stereotypical role as full-time therapists for emotionally distant men. Skip down to the circle part. Today in America, women expect more from men, and unfortunately, so many men don't have more to give. They are socially and emotionally inept and don't intend on changing things. The same emotional deficits that hurt men in the dating pool are also hampering them from forming meaningful friendships. We've been talking about friendships. I've talked about friendships in 2 different videos. Men are less naturally relational than women. Skip down. Reeves points to a recent Saturday Night Live sketch that reimagined the neighborhood dog park as a man park, poking fun at the reliance of men on women to do the emotional lifting for them. So it sounds like women are evolving and men are not. Anyways, y'all like, comment, share.